I like the music choice. That's awesome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live video in my Facebook group, The Portrait Photographer's Resource. Today, we're doing a very special video. This is the first video that we've done like this. This is my How I Captured It series, where I will be interviewing who I think is a super talented photographer in the industry, and we're going to basically break down their images. For the first guest on this series, I am very humbled and welcomed to join Orlando-based photographer Ray Alvarez. Ray, can you say hi to everyone?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? How's it going?
Yeah,
How's it going,
man.
Sean?
Yeah, what's up, dude? How's Florida life treating you?
Florida's great. Hot weather, but right now we got cold weather, but it's not really cold, but it's just the right temperature. Everything's great.
I was about to say, what is cold weather in Florida looking like?
So cold weather in Florida, anything below 50s. You got the original Floridians who wear jackets and hoodies and things like that. Like the other morning, I was dropping my kid off at the bus, and everybody's looking at me in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm like, hey, I'm comfortable.
So is it like it's in the 50s today over there?
Today was like 55, in the morning time.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cold for Florida.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like for like New York or Colorado or something like that, it'll be really cold. Here, it's just kind of windy, a little cool, but I love the weather here, man. Love it.
Right on. I love to hear that, man. Yeah. As you know, I've been spending a lot of time in Orlando recently, and I don't think I've been there where it's been like below 75. So so to hear that it's like 50, I'm like, oh geez, that's like the North Pole for you guys.
Yeah, no, this is the best time to be here during the fall and the winter time, and to be shooting outside too as a photographer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned to everyone, I'm really stoked you're here because I find you to be a super creative and talented photographer. But I wanted to ask you if you could maybe share a little bit of information about yourself. What it is that you do, maybe some of your inspirations in photography, how long you've been doing it. Basically, help us paint a picture for all of us on who Ray Alvarez is.
Sure. So I'm Ray Alvarez. I also go by Shoot with Ray or Weddings by Ray because I'm primarily a portrait and wedding photographer. Originally, I was in New York for my entire life, and I just recently moved down here to Florida, Orlando, Florida. This is where we are now. But we work on creative portraits. I specialize in headshots. I also do weddings a lot, and I've been doing mostly weddings my entire career. I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and I'm also proud and happy to say that for the last year and a half now, I've been working on my educational platform and becoming an educator. As I did speak at a few conferences, and I'm looking forward to any future conferences that I can speak and teach and educate newcomers into this field that want to learn the way that I wanted to learn when I started this out.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, as you know, I've been in the education game now for a few years, and it's a lot of fun. You meet some really cool people, and it gives you a lot of really interesting networking opportunities. But really, one of the biggest benefits I get from it is I feel like that when you are an educator yourself, you actually learn a lot from teaching, and you learn a lot from your
Absolutely.
students as well. So that's super cool that you are so passionate about it.
Yeah, very passionate about everything that I do photography. A lot of people sometimes they ask me, "Hey, do you love weddings?" And I'm like, "I love them." And people think I'm crazy for that. But no, I have a passion doing that. I have a passion working with people. That moment that you share the back of your screen or you're reviewing pictures with a client, and that excitement that they get and you see that glimmer in their eyes, that makes me happy and I feel fulfilled with that. At the same time with weddings and at the same time now with photography where people who are new to it and they created an image that they thought they couldn't create, that's beyond happiness for me right there. That makes me really happy.
That's great to hear, man. I mean, it sounds like you're doing this for the right reasons, and you know, that's something that's really admirable and something I can get on board with. So, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm really stoked for you to
Of
break
course.
down these 5 images that we've selected tonight and really just kind of give everyone some insight on what it is you do and how you've created these, because they really are super creative. And there's a couple in here where I was like, okay, I think I know how we did this, and there's also a couple where I'm like, I'm lost. Like, I have no idea. And that's why I
Thank you,
picked,
man.
yeah, and that's why I picked these photos specifically. So thank you for, not being that kind of guy that's like, nope, I'm not going to teach you how I did this. This is my secret.
Aw.
So really, honestly, thank you so much for sharing, your creative process with all of us. And for
Of
those of
course, I'm
you,
glad to
yeah,
help.
yeah, man. And for those of you who are watching live, I am looking at the comments on the screen on my right. So if you want to say hi or you want to ask any questions, specifically for me or Ray, please, please, please do so. I would love to create an open discussion about these photos. Already, we have some people dropping some comments. Devin McCabe says, such an effing amazing photographer, and that she is so proud of you. Thank you for all the advice you've given her over the years.
She's awesome. She's
Yeah,
awesome.
she
I
actually
love her
took my
stuff.
workshop a couple years ago. She is great. Scott Tibble says, "Will there be an open bar this evening, or does he need cash?"
Are you buying, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you around next time I'm in Orlando. Well, I'll be in Orlando next week, so next time I'm
All
there,
right.
I'll buy you a drink as a thank you for jumping on this.
That's awesome. Thank you. Can't wait.
Yeah, first round's on me. Well, awesome guys. So I think yeah, like I said, keep coming with the comments. I'd love to see them, even the fun and silly ones. Scott, I'm looking at you. Um, but we're gonna dive right into this, okay? So let's do it. So
Yeah, let's do it.
this first image, it looks like it was shot at sunset, and it looks like a nice quinceanera shot. But I would really like for you to talk to us about this image. What did you have any sort of inspiration for this photo? Maybe talk a little bit about your composition, your lighting, anything you want to share. And if there's a story attached to it as well, please share that too.
Yeah. All right. So let's go right into it. So this photo, which to this day is one of my favorite quinceañera photos. I was working with, the subject, and we were working on her portraits a little bit, off camera to the right. There was a little grassy area. And then once I looked to the left, I noticed that there was like this awesome area, which is what you see pictured here. And I realized, like, I don't know if you guys get this, but whenever I'm walking, it's almost like I can see the vision almost, and you see the composition right then and there. So I like the fact that what I thought of was I can place the subject right between those two trees and have it right in the middle. I'm a big, big fan of environmental portraits just like this. That's what I call my signature portrait. So every wedding or every quinceañera, I always like to include something like this, super wide. And once we got to that location, the sky was really beautiful. Unfortunately, I have to be truthful with you guys. It isn't a real sky; it's a swap. But us photographers,
Wah,
we,
wah,
we like to do
wah.
things like that. Yeah, it's a swap. But it resonated with the picture. The colors just went great. The sunset was amazing, but I didn't like the light blue sky that I was getting. And yeah, and the lighting part of it was super super simple.
Yeah, and actually, I do have a diagram pulled up right here for you all to see. So it looks like you use a 200-watt strobe, camera right, modified with a mag box behind the tree, which is actually clever. You use the tree to hide the soft box, and then you use the sunset just as rim lighting, basically, to kind of give her that nice highlight on the right side of her body, or if we're looking at her, the left side. Anything else that we should know about that in regards to the setup?
No, that's correct. That's pretty much the way it went. Once I positioned myself where I wanted to be for this shot, I used that tree to my advantage. Anything to simplify the process, especially in post processing. Less work later. I love the fact that I could just hide my light, which is a small softbox, the Magma 24-inch, which is what I use to light the
So
subject,
portable.
and yeah, it's super easy, lightweight, and portable to use. And just took advantage of the sunset as well to the left where it would give her some rim lighting on the right side of her body.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Hawking is asking, and I was actually going to ask the same question, so thank you, John. What lens were you using here, and what millimeter did you shoot it at?
So I shot this specific shot at 24 millimeter,
Okay.
and then I also did get a closer shot, which was 50 millimeter, but it isn't included in today's video. But yes, this
Okay.
was 24 millimeters.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, well, right on. That's yeah. So really easy lighting setup. Just one light. No gels. Correct. You just shot this.
No,
Just the
no
mag box.
gels, no
Okay.
gels at all. The sky was pretty blue, it was simple, but I decided to swap it just because it looked better with the portrait.
Yeah, and if you watch my videos, I'm not a huge fan of sky swaps. But I will say that I think the way you did it here works very well, especially because you're using the pink in her dress to play off the pink in the sunset. So
Right.
I think that was a very good choice there.
Thank you, Sean.
There was some intention behind it. So. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next photo. Kind of, and as we talked about before this, we're gonna be progressing the images maybe from a little bit more simple to a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more challenging lighting situations, a little bit more technical as well. So this first setup that we had a little bit more lighting, and we're gonna start getting a little bit more detailed here. So for the second photo, it looks like a portrait, like a wintertime portrait, and to my knowledge, there are no snowy backdrops in Florida like this. So I'm gonna assume this was shot in the studio, but I would love for you to break down this image for us and really talk about what's going on here.
This was definitely shot in studio, and
Okay.
there was a lot of post processing to this image. At first, I didn't really know what to do. I was a little lost, and here's why. So the subject here came in, and my job was to simply create something amazingly beautiful with the headpiece that's attached to her head. The headpiece was created by my makeup artist slash wife, Kay
Oh.
Alvarez, and she created the headpiece for this. And believe it or not, the dress that the subject is wearing is a maternity dress, and it was royal blue. And the trees in the back all have like this whole image has this kind of like almost like a bluish tint to it. That was also in post. Um, and what we did was with the royal blue dress in post, I swapped the color of the dress to match that icy bluish theme that I'm going for in this shot. It took a little while to get there because whenever photographers play with their images, they kind of like look around to see exactly what they want to create or how they want to color grade it and change the colors and themes and stuff like that. So that's what happened in this photo. At first, I didn't know how to light it or how I wanted to light it, but eventually it all came to mind, and that's what we went with.
Gotcha. So it's so amazing. And I did just pull up kind of how or the behind the scenes photo that you showed me. And actually before that, I can see the studio you have set up here, and it's mind blowing what you were
Yep.
able to create in just a simple studio setup here. So yeah, you got a bunch of fake Christmas trees. You have like a
hmm
really cool winter wonderland set. Whose studio is this, by the way?
So this was my studio back in New York. This
Okay.
was during Christmas last year. We had Christmas minis going on, and like again, when the client came in and said, "Hey, let's do something that's winterish," I didn't really know what to do, but I said, "I have a set built here. Let me take advantage of this without breaking down my set in the middle of the minis." I went to town. I just used a 7 foot parabolic umbrella to light mostly the subject and her background as well. But I kind of want to create that essence that she's in the middle of the forest somewhere with all these Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And I think I accomplished that. In my opinion, I think I did okay with that.
Yeah, no, I'd say you did better than okay. You did pretty great here. And actually, give me a second. I lost my
Yeah,
place
that's
here.
fine.
Well, super cool, man. So I love, I was wondering how you were able to achieve such soft light, and the fact that you're using a 7 foot reflector really, answers that question for me. Do you so with a reflector that big or a modifier that large, are you is that light also exposing the background a little bit, or is it or is it, just kind of really only hitting the subject and you're having to, add in light on the background a different way?
So, in the raw image, the trees were lit just a tad bit. I did bring up the shadows a little bit behind the subject, and in post processing in Photoshop, I kind of, altered the trees to look a little brighter, not too much.
Okay.
But the lighting did do sufficient lighting on the subject and the backdrop to where I can do that in post.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, man, I really like this photo a lot, and in all
Thank you.
honesty, I think this one as well as the next image, which we'll show you in a second, I
Sure.
really really think you should submit these in the WPPI print competition.
Thank you.
This is the style that I think generally does really well in those competitions, and that's just my opinion. I really do think he would do pretty well. And the nice thing about the competition this year is, you don't have to go through the trouble of, actually, printing the photo, matting it yourself, and investing
Right.
all this time only for it to not score because you can submit to the online competition. And then if they select your photo to be judged in the print competition, then okay, well, this actually has
Hmm.
a really solid chance, and I'm not, and I didn't have to do any of the guesswork. So,
No, that's
um,
awesome. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
yeah, so I really, we can talk about it later, but honestly, I'm so confident in this image. I will pay for your entry fee for this photo because I really think it's good.
Oh
That
man,
good.
that's awesome. All right,
Yeah.
let's do it. We'll talk about it later then.
All right. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Okay. Well, anyway, let me just pull up this next image here. We're going to dive right into this. Perfect. Here we go.
Thanks for
All
the
right.
compliments in the comments there too. Thank you very much, guys. Ellie, John, I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Ellie and John are both saying it's awesome. So did Radon. She loves your photo. So, very cool. And actually, one last question about that photo. What
Sure.
lens did you use? What lens did you use for that?
I believe it was a 50 millimeter. Um,
Oh, it was a 50. Okay.
yeah, I think that's, one of the things about me is once I fall in love with something, I kind of stick with it and I kind of have to
Mm-hmm.
stop doing that. But I love the 50. That's one of my favorite lenses. I love primes. But yeah, that one was shot with a 50.
Super cool. Super cool. Well, right on, man. Yeah. So let's move on to this next image. This is the one photo that I saw because I asked you to send me like a few photos that I feel like might be good for our, uh, for this How I Captured It series, and this is the one that really had me stumped. Um,
Okay.
it looks like maybe use some sort of gobo, but I really want to, yeah, I really want you to give me some insight on how you captured this photo.
Sure. So, one of the things, and I'm so glad you said gobo because like I always say gobo as well, and I feel like I confuse people. So, gobo is what we call it as photographers, but it's really, projection lighting, projection kits, using the Godox projection kits, the SA-17, I believe it is. So this was during a private shoot that I held with my makeup artist wife, which is the subject here, and also one of my students who I was teaching in a private class. We had a lighting, almost like an advanced lighting course, where she wanted to learn different modifiers. And then the whole gobo setup that you see pictured here was sort of like a bonus. So she really, really did enjoy that. She got a few outstanding images herself during her class. But during my training or when I was kind of testing it out for her, we shot this image here. We shot several, and this was one of my favorites.
Okay.
So in this photo, I believe it was an 8200 gelled with red on the side of the camera, and basically that's illuminating everything and turning it red. Now,
Okay.
whenever I'm setting up my photos, I work backwards with the lighting, so I don't light up the key light first. I do everything else first, and then I implement my key light. So in this photo, we started with the secondary lights, which was the red, turning everything red in the photo, and then after that, my key light was right in front of the subject, angled down, and it was an 8400, I believe, with the projection kit by Godox, and it was the circle gobo, and yeah, there it goes. That's
Yep.
that's what the projection kit looks like.
Okay.
Um, Now, when I specifically had it set up, I inserted a business card, just any sort of plastic, very thin material. I inserted it into the slot so I can close that circle more. Hence
Oh,
why
okay.
right under the nose and in the chin area, all you see is somewhat like a smaller circle. So literally, that is the only thing that the gobo was illuminating, and that's how we got that effect.
Gotcha. Yeah, super creative here, man. I absolutely love that. And it's kind of surprising too that the light output from the gobo was strong enough to really just completely overpower the red gel. Because my thought is you would kind of get some muddled colors, between the red
Right.
gel and the light. But as you're showing here, we found that that's not necessarily the case, correct?
Right, no, that's not the case. And one of the things about this is somewhat of a soft and hard light mix. The key light, the one with the gobo, the 8400, is the hard light in this case
Yeah.
because it's just a projection of light and it's going to be really bright. So you have to mess with your settings to make sure that you get this kind of result when you're shooting that way with hard light.
Right, right. Okay. And when you were capturing this image, did you go into I'm trying to figure out your creative process here. Did you go into this photo shoot saying, I want to do this, I have this vision in
No.
mind, or were you just kind of experimenting and you're like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this?
I was experimenting. This was totally an experiment. As I mentioned earlier, the part where I introduced the Gobo and the Godox kit, it was more like a bonus for my client, for the one who paid for her private session.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's amazing, man. And actually, we do have a video to that you sent me as well to accompany this. So let me pull it up here
Sure.
and just kind of show everyone what we're working with. So give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pulling this up right here. Hope you all can see it.
Bring your chin down just a little bit so I can see more of your eyes. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I
Yeah. And in
see.
the video, yeah. So this specific shot was a little different. She had a different setup, but this is exactly how we had it set up. And as you can see here, like there's a light behind her. That light wasn't used for the shot that we saw here, but this was pretty much the setup that we had when I introduced this idea to her. And that, as you can see in the video, that's the Godox projection kit there.
Gotcha. I've actually never played around with that because I've never, really had the need to. But super interesting, and what a creative shot. This is another one I really think could do well at that WPPI. So,
Thank you. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
awesome, man. Okay. Well, very cool. Anything else you want to talk about or share about how you created that photo, or is that pretty much hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, that pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, you always have to also thank your subjects. They come in well prepared, and in this case, it was a makeup artist, so she knows what she's doing, and that really does help us photographers and us creatives whenever we're producing images. Because if you have a great looking subject that comes prepared with outfits, poses, and makeup, and they look fine with hair and everything, it definitely helps our end results.
Absolutely. Well, super cool, man. Really, really interesting shot. Let's go ahead and move on to this next photo. And when you sent it to me, the title was EDC. So I'm going to assume there's some sort of relationship to the Electric Daisy Carnival here, but I'm just speculating based off of the title of the image and what they're wearing. But yeah, this was another photo that I just was like, wow, like how did he capture this? How did he get such a nice transition between the blue and the red? So why don't you break this down for me? And before you do that, too, kind of give us a little bit of insight on what this was shot for, what the intention behind this image was.
Right. No, no, that's awesome, and I appreciate you bringing this picture up. It's one of my favorites to date. And you're right. It is not directly affiliated with EDC. It is shot for the events that's coming up here in Orlando. But it is actually a campaign shoot I did for the hairstylist. The
Okay.
hairstylist and the makeup artist joined together to promote their services, non-affiliated with the event, and they wanted to do a photo shoot to promote exactly what it is that they're selling. And in this case, they're selling hair and makeup, which is what you see in the picture. This kind of hairstyle is very popular amongst festival goers and people who attend these kind of events.
I'll be there,
And
so I can
when
I can I can agree.
yeah, we might see each other there. I'm considering going. Um,
Okay.
But yeah, these events, they're super fun. And when we were coming up with the idea for this picture did not come up until we got there.
Oh,
When they were done with the hair and makeup, they said, well, what are you gonna do? So the thing about me is, especially when I'm working with a makeup artist and hairstylist, I truly, we try to come up with an idea beforehand, but most of it is generated once I see what I'm working with, right? So you think of it like a blank canvas, and then you kind of said, all right, well, these are your colors, red and blue, work with that. So when I come up to the subject and I see what they got going on with the makeup artist, that's what inspires me as
okay.
to what is my backdrop going to be and how I'm going to light it. So in this case, when you think EDC, when you think electronic festival, what do you see? Like lights, lasers,
Yeah,
smoke, a whole bunch of lights and colors, right? Lights
sure.
and colors. So the first thing I said was I had a whole bunch of atmospheric spray. I had like 3 cans in
Yep.
with me in my car. So I'm like, all
Good
right, I
stuff.
got the smoke, I got the fog. Now, what do we do with colors? I love using gels. Magmod products are amazing. I love the mag gels. I live by them. So I had a whole bunch of those, and I'm like, all right, now we get to mix some colors into the smoke. Now, when I saw the subject to the left, she had blues, she had purples, aqua. So I said, all right, that's going to be my blue. And then the other subject to the right had yellows, had red, fire.
Oh,
That's when I said, let's do yellow, bright yellow, and
yes.
kind of like red. So the way this was shot was there. It was tricky, and I'll explain that in a moment. The lighting behind them, there's 180-200 with the blue gel behind the left subject, and 180-200 with the red gel behind the right subject. And then I had a key light right above me, coming down towards the subjects at a 45-degree angle. This was the 8400 with a 48-inch softbox. And then
Okay.
last but not least, there's a reflector right under them that's filling up those shadows, giving them another set of lights, reflecting light back to them, and giving them some amazing catch lights, especially for some other portraits that we shot, some close-ups, that also helped with this set. And that's pretty much how we lit this photo. We had the spray going, and when I when I mentioned that it was a little bit tricky, that was because you have to keep, they're moving around, we're playing EDM in the background, they're having fun, but at the same time, the hat was hard to kind of fill in this area because of the hat. At the same time, you want to make sure that they're both in
Yep.
focus, especially with them moving around. And if they're moving around and the light is behind them, now you're going to see that strobe shine through, and it's just going to create a hazy photo. So you just wanted to make sure that everything went right, and there was just a lot of moving parts. So it wasn't too easy, it was a little difficult, but we made it happen.
Gotcha. So yeah, when I really wanted to talk about this photo because I was trying to deconstruct it in my head. And, there were some things I kind of figured out on my own. So, for example, I did see the catch lights in the girl's eyes on the right. I saw that curved, kind of reflector. So
Right.
I knew you had your key light above them. I knew you had that reflector bouncing the light back to them. The part I'm actually still a little confused about how you did was your backlight. So you obviously you have two 8200s, one with the blue gel, one with the yellow gel. Are they pointed straight at the subjects, or are they on the background? Like pointed on the background, or how did you basically where were they positioned, and how did you get such a clean transition between the blue and then the yellow?
So that's a really good question. And also to answer Rodon's question, the background color was black. And I completely forgot to include this in the diagram. I used the Westcott X drop, and I had the black backdrop included on that setup. And when I used that, we were working with the tight space. So I kind of wanted to make sure that I filled that up, really nice and tight. So when we shot it, the lights were facing me. They were facing me. They were facing the subject directly at us. And this is why I was saying that the subject needed to be right in front of the light. Because if the subject, moved an inch to the side and that light, hit me, it would just create a very bright, a bright light, almost like you're flashing that light right in front of your lens. So
Okay,
it would just look very hazy. So what's helping here is the subject is stopping that light from coming in straight to
of
me, and
course.
it's just hitting their entire body. It's just rimming the entire outer shape of their body and their hair.
Okay, gotcha. And actually, you did include a video for this one as well, so we can pull that up
Yeah.
here. Okay, I can see they
If
got the
the
party
sour thoughts a little higher,
favors.
just a little higher, the sour thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
So you
go.
see the movement. It's not easy. So we had to keep going just to get it going. But as you can see, the lights are facing, my camera facing them, and they're
Okay.
gelled. But that smoke, that heavy concentrated smoke, is also helping in stopping some of the light coming straight to me and just kind of stay within the atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a lot of people here helping you create this image. You got someone spraying the atmosphere. You got you actually taking the photo. You got the two models. Um,
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, and I could see, you got to make sure that they're blocking that light, that backlight.
Right.
So when they're moving, you're almost kind of having, I'm sure, moving with them a little bit as well, just so
Yep.
that, okay. And then one thing I'm noticing is before you actually capture the frame, it looks like your modeling light comes on for just a second before that. Is that a feature? Is that a feature of the flashes you're using, or how do you
Yes,
achieve
that
that?
is the Godox 8400, and it does come with a modern light included. And whenever you do, you hit the shutter and it exposes an image, it does shut off for that moment and then it turns back on. The reason we did this was because the beauty studio was getting very filled with smoke, and it was very hard for my camera to, get focused or for me to
Right.
focus where I needed to focus. So the modeling light did help with that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, the super cool photo. Really stoked that you broke this one down for us because
Thank you.
I was just like going back and forth in my head. I'm like, how the heck did he photograph this? So, and I guess I've never really tried a shot like this where I try to create where I use two different colored gels. At least not in this format. I mean, obviously I've used two different colored gels before, but not in this way. And it's cool to see that you're able to get such a clean transition between that blue and that yellow. So it's really inspired me a little bit to try something similar to this. So yeah,
Yeah, it's super
what a
fun.
cool
Sometimes you
concept.
got to come out of your box and just play around with stuff, play around with gels, play around with lighting. At first I think it was purple and blue, and then I realized, it just clashed too
Too
much.
similar.
I'm
Yep.
sorry, it blended. It was too similar. And then I also realized, like, I got bored. I'm like, look, I do blue and purple all the time. Let's switch it up. Let's do red. Let's do yellow. And being that both the different models had their own colors going, that's when I decided, right, blue for her, yellow for her, icy hot, cold and fire.
Yeah. No, it's like an icy hot commercial almost.
Yeah, I think that's what I captioned it when I posted it on Facebook a while back.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right on, man. Well, thank you for breaking down your creative process with this because I was stumped for sure. And now the
Thank you.
way that you explain it, it makes a lot more sense. And Radon saying that this image definitely makes her want to get some models and play in the studio. So, way to go to
Yes,
inspire some people.
do it. Yeah, do it. It's super fun, and that sometimes you have to remind yourself that's why you like photography, because you want to be creative, you want to have fun, not only with yourself but with the people who are in front of you as well.
Absolutely. Very cool, man. Well, hey, thank you again for this photo. We're going to go ahead and move on to our last photo. And I wanted to say this one for last because I felt it was very appropriate with, the spooky season coming up. And this
Yeah.
photo just like, it just gives me like Halloween horror kind of vibes. I don't know if that was the intention, but just everything from the lighting to her facial expression to her tattoos. So cool. So why don't you, yeah, first talk about kind of the concept behind this and what the intention was.
Sure. So, funny story. This was shot during my class at Shutterfest this year,
Okay.
earlier this year. And to make a very long story short, there was something that had happened on the other side of the building that caused somewhat of a distraction. So some of my participants or my students who signed up for the class didn't make it. So we had a very, very small meeting, just a few of us there. So when I decided to teach the original subject, we did it, but it was super short because of the participation, that I had to pivot. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So, one of the things I did while I was waiting for my students to arrive was I asked each individual and I said, what are your weaknesses? What do you want to teach? I'll touch on that. I'll make sure that I bring that up. And majority voted that their weaknesses was gels and lighting, how to use multiple lights, how to use gels. And luckily enough, I had some gels with me. And I said, that's easy. I love shooting with gels. We'll make it happen. So once the original part of the class was done, now it's time to come out and play. So this was the model that was assigned to me during my class. Her name is Ryan Rains, and she's an amazing person to work with. She brings it. She definitely had a lot of fun, and she knew exactly what she was doing. So that was very helpful. So in this moment, we're in the corner of the building of the hotel that we were at,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved the brick. I love the fact that we can just get a little creative with it. It was grungy, like you said, a little spooky,
Yeah.
and you're kind of looking at it like, let's create something. So what I did was I took and kind of similar effect to the previous photo. I took an 8200 and I used the blue gel, and I set it on a chair. I didn't have a stand for it. I set it on a chair that was nearby. It's about right off the frame to the camera right. It's facing the model. It's facing the wall. It's pretty much just putting blue everywhere, painting blue all over the place in
Okay.
this photo. And then I had another 8200, I believe it was, yeah, it was an 8200 off camera right there facing the subject. So the only thing I wanted to do was I wanted to illuminate her face. And I believe I used a mag grid to,
Yeah.
help with the lighting and to diffuse it a little bit. So that way, instead of it just, shooting all over the place, it's diffused down to this like a smaller circle, and it can hit her and light her face. So that one right there was the only one that was the key light, for example, and
Yeah.
that's what illuminated her face.
Right on, right on. Yeah, super. I love that you set the scene with a colored gel, and then you filled
Hmm.
in, light, uh, unmodified, ungelled, or I shouldn't say unmodified, but ungelled to really bring attention to a very specific part of her face. And that's what I love about the mag grid and just grids in general is you can be very intentional with your light placement. So kudos to you for doing that. And the one question I have is, did you do any sort of post production to modify the color of the gel at all? Because it looks kind of almost like teal to me.
I did do that. Sometimes I play around with colors just to kind of just result to something that I like. Whenever I'm editing, I'm in a zone, and what I feel then is what I kind of try to convey to the pictures while I'm editing. So I did use a blue gel, and in Lightroom, you kind of play around with the sliders a little bit, especially when it comes to the hue, and I changed it, and I felt that this resonated with the picture more. It was almost like a green kind of aqua feel to it, and I appreciated that way more than just the regular old blue. And the same thing with the area in her face. I did warm up the photo just a tad bit so it can create
Okay.
somewhat of more warmer lighting in the face area, and that's why you see it behind her too, hitting the wall, the red brick. It
Right.
looks a little bit warmer. So
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely love it, and what a cool photo to share right before Halloween, the spooky season, so to speak. And her
yeah,
tattoos are
oh yeah,
super cool as well. She's definitely put a lot of thought into that, and it's fun as a photographer when we can kind of use some elements from their personality. To
right.
influence our decisions with how we're lighting or creating our photos. And I think you did a really good job doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This photo, I believe, made third place in the entire Shutterfest competition. It had
Really?
top three images. Yeah.
Dude, that's incredible. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I didn't even know that. I found out like 2 days later. People are tagging me like, "Hey, man, you won!" And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome!" So, thanks.
There you go. I mean, that's a big deal, dude. That's not an easy thing to do.
I appreciate it.
Right on, man. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of all of the images that we talked about. You had five photos that were all made with Flash, but all done in very different ways and very different subjects. And it's really cool that as a creative, as a photographer, you're well versed in different styles of lighting, and that's something that's really inspiring. So I wanted to say thank you again for sharing all those photos. But
Of
for those
course.
of you who are just joining us, you can watch the replay of this video. So if you missed any of this, it's going to be you can watch as many times as you want on my YouTube channel as well as in this group. And speaking of YouTube, Ray, you have a YouTube channel as well. Where can people find you on YouTube for your educational content?
Yeah, so basically shoot with Ray on any platform, especially YouTube. I believe it's youtube.com/at shoot with Ray.
Perfect, perfect, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in Orlando. We'll definitely. I owe you a
Yeah,
beer as a thank you again. So I
we have to
appreciate you.
catch up.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have some fun. We'll do some cool stuff. I'm looking forward to doing some fishing out there as well. There's some. I'm big into fishing. If you didn't know, so
Nice.
I'm looking at doing maybe some tarpon fishing off the Gulf side, like in Tampa or something. But
All right.
yeah, dude. I'll see you soon. Thank you again. And is there anything else you want to say before we sign off officially?
Well, yeah, I just want to thank you, Sean, for, again, just giving me the platform to speak with you and speak with your audience here. I appreciate everybody's compliments and comments in the chat here. Thank you, everybody who, took out time today to watch me explain my process and, watch Sean chat with me about these images. I want to be an inspiration for everybody, especially you guys. Just have fun with it. If you're used to shooting with a 50 millimeter one light, add two more lights into your setup, change up the lens, and try to switch it up sometimes. Because if not, you're just going to get stagnant. And it's just all about being creative. So thanks again, Sean, for letting me chat here with you guys. And thanks everybody for watching and the compliments.
Definitely. And one final note for those of you who are watching, if you really enjoyed this and you would like to see me interview someone else for another How I Captured It series, go ahead and nominate someone. Post up in the group, say, hey, Sean, I think so-and-so would be an awesome person to interview. And make sure you tag them too so we can ask them. So if you guys can think of anyone who would do as well as Ray and has some amazing photos, let's get them on. Let's break down their images and just so we can all learn and grow together, especially in a world like my rant earlier, where reels are taking over and it's become more about how well of a video you can create on your iPhone as opposed to the quality of your work. But I won't rant about that in this video. So Ray, thank you so much. We will see you soon, and everyone who's watching, have a fantastic night.
Yes. Good night, guys.
Good night.